Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast, a podcast for Rovers fans, by Rovers fans, and what a week it was to be a Rovers fan. A typical up and down week, but we are back. So let's get into these headlines. So Rovers dominate Stoke, but a lack of fire at one end and a dying embers at the other meant we fell 2-0 at home once again. And after 25 shots and 62% possession, Rovers fans are scratching their heads to find the answer to our goal-scoring problem. Andy Vman answers those questions by bagging a brace 3-1 away at Cardiff to make fans cheer again after a performance that looked like prime Brazil. But it was Luis Traviesta and Ainsley Julio Pesar who put in amazing performances once again to leave fans purring and wondering, are these the greatest comebacks in Rovers history, as both also get into the EFL Team of the Week. Mark, a lot to digest this week. There's a few ups and downs, but last week we said we wanted today's pod to be more positive, and I think we've got one today.
100% going to be more positive, and I'll be honest, I'm just enjoying those puns that you've made, Mike. That's what they should be called from now on. I'm loving it.
I'll be honest, when I wrote this, I thought that is an extremely wordy intro and headlines, and if I can get through this without messing it up, I'll be impressed with myself. Not that I was practicing, but yeah, I was quite chuffed to just get through the headlines and not trip over my words. But we do have to start on a slight negative, though, and that is that Stoke game. Now, we're still high after the Cardiff game. We need to take ourselves back to that Stoke game where I felt like we dominated and it didn't fall for us. What was your thoughts when we finished that game?
So I did the reaction, and I did a bit of a different one this week. I paused it at half time. I thought I'll do it while it's fresh in my memory. I'll do the first half, and you can see my body language go from. I was quite happy at half time. I was buzzing in some ways. I thought, oh my God, that's the performance we wanted. And I know it had started to get to a point, hadn't it, where it had to be about results, but the performance was something I was watching it going, I didn't think we had this in us anymore. We were creating chances. We were on the front foot. We were moving the ball quickly. We were playing exactly as we want us to play. And I thought, well, actually, this is something I wasn't expecting. I thought if we're going to win, we might get over the line and go, all right, we've scored from a corner or something like that. And actually, the performance really took me aback because I thought, oh, hold on a minute. We were talking about needing to almost scrape through to January and get results and just tick over and maybe fix it then. And we were looking at the team and going, well, can Leonard come in and fix it? Have we got it somewhere else? And can somebody just step up? But actually, it wasn't about an individual. This was about a team performance that was so good. However, you had to then remind yourself, this is the back of 4 results where it's now about results, not performance. And ultimately, the result was just not good enough when we hadn't scored again. As I was watching the end of the game tick over, and obviously they got the second, and you thought, we're not going to come back from this, though. I was just desperately hoping something hit someone's ass and went in or whatever, because we needed to get the monkey off our back, didn't we, with the goal? So then going into Saturday, I thought, oh, God, if only we'd have got a goal. I hope the confidence isn't shattered, because the performance in isolation, take away the run before that, the performance in isolation was one of the best I've seen under Eustace.
We talk about shattered confidence. I've got the match audio and talk about shattered confidence. 2 blokes here, me and you. This match audio was extremely down and negative. I'm going to play it. Bit of a warning. It's longer than normal. But yeah, just listen to this.
Gonna be honest, Mike, I'm absolutely lower than a snake's belly after that one. I'm not sure if we ever played that game another 99 times if we'd lose it. Johansson's made 2 amazing saves from Dolan and Vman that not many other keepers in the country make, certainly not in the Championship. And Al McTargate's missed from 3 yards out. I'm not quite sure. And similarly, Harry Leonard, free header at the back post. All right, both had just come on, but You know, if we've made an error, Travis hasn't followed his man. They've got us with a sucker punch. And then Danny Bath chasing back to his own goal is not what you want. Idiotic decision to pull him down right in front of the ref. And we've paid the price. I am despondent, but do you know what? The performance was better than 2-0 to them. That was a good performance. It had a lot of the things we'd asked for. And I'm going to try and keep positive, but I'm finding it very difficult right now.
Oh, God's sake, Mark, why do we do it to ourselves? Why did we start this podcast? Why do we do this? I'm looking now for answers. I don't know what the answers are. I don't know whether it's tactical changes. I don't know whether it's personnel changes that we need, but something isn't working. I don't necessarily think it's the strikers. I know that Ohashi slipped on one and Gay missed another. But it's not like we're making loads of chances, and when we finally do get a shot off, we face a keeper that's just turned into prime Lev Yashin, and as the kids say, he's an absolute cheat code. I feel hard done by. I thought the performance was decent. I thought first half we were the stronger side. I even thought second half we were probably equal, if not stronger. I thought the penalty was soft. I thought the lad knew exactly what he was doing. I just feel extremely hard done by with this one, mate. Really do. Hopefully it gets better at the weekend, but at the moment I think something needs to change. And I hope Eustace has the answers, because I sure as hell don't. So, yeah. I've never known us be this down after a game. And I think for me, like, I contradicted myself about 30 times in that space. I was there saying, we didn't create chances. We did create chances, because I came away from the game and I was just like, how can you play like you did? You come up against a keeper that's making no saves. And then we have to talk about it. And that's why I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this podcast now. I just want to go to bed, forget about it. And I was so down. And you sounded the same.
That was me sat there going, I've now got to record the second half of this audio for the match reaction. And someone put on underneath, Mark, I don't know how you've done this video. Neither do I. I mean, Prime Lev Yashin made me chuckle, at least. And it was true. I think I was so down because we'd played so well, particularly first half, going into the second half, thinking, come on, we'll just need to nick a goal. The performance is there. I didn't think we even had that in us right now. So then to play that well and still not manage to score, still not win, I thought, well, now where do we go? Because I can't see us playing that well again. And that's where it was for me. I was just like, geez, we talked about maybe just needing the goals. We've had a performance of the season and performance under Eustace potentially, and still not managed to score. So what the hell do we do next? And it just felt like, well, that's it. We're not even going to score ever again. We're not going to win ever again. I'll be honest, mate. If someone just listened to that right now, they'd be sending a bloody emergency services out to us, wouldn't they? Jeez.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was trying to justify the result in my head after. I was thinking, where did we go wrong? Because sometimes, you come away and you try and get it all together in your heads, because we do these literally straight after the final whistle. It is, we were quite negative. I was quite negative, but I was trying to think to myself, how did we lose that? I mean, the penalty was a silly penalty, and obviously they got their goal. But I looked at it, and the notes were there was a lot of positives. We still need rotation. Cantwell looked frustrated. We were the better side. It was all over the place, and there was just loads of notes being made, and I couldn't really put my finger on why we lost. Yes, we can moan at Gay for missing what he did, and that was a shocking miss. I was trying to justify that. I was thinking, well, the guy jumped in front of him, may have taken his eye off the ball, but I'm justifying what a Sunday league striker would do. I mean, I've had this happen to me when I've tried to play up front and the ball's come across, someone's jumped in front of me and the ball's just smacked me in the face rather than me head it, because I'm not experienced. But these are professional footballers. You like to think that they imagine the guy's not there and they're just going to play the ball. And then you look at Johansson. I mean, I'm looking at the whoscored.com. He got a 9 out of 10. It's something rarely seen for the ratings. And everyone else, it was a pretty even between the two teams, but he was just standing out. And when he saved that one against Dolan, it was a beautiful shot from Dolan, and it was a great view from the camera. And I thought, oh my word, this is, he saved it. Oh my God, how's he saved that? And it was just like that constantly. And I just knew it wasn't going to be our day. And I came away thinking, please don't bring on Sam Gallagher or anything like that and score against us. Was Sam Gallagher even on the bench? No, he wasn't even on the bench. But yeah, was he injured? Oh yeah, he's injured, isn't he? But my brain was just all over the place. I was thinking about Ashley Phillips. I was thinking about Ennis. I was thinking about Sam Gallagher. How's this happening? And it was all rolled into one. You had Tom Cannon celebrating like he'd won the Champions League final. And I was just trying to piece it all together, and I just couldn't. And if it wasn't for this podcast, I would have turned social media off and just left it. I was really trying to justify how we lost that. And I don't know. The only thing I can think of was Johansson.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're obviously more interested in Rovers, but what a goalkeeper. He's been linked with every team under the sun for the last 2 years. And now I'm looking and thinking, how has he not got to move? I mean, normally I would have gone to this game. It's a midweek game. I've got a season ticket. My daughter turned around and her exact words were, I'd rather go to bed. Okay. So she went to bed. And we didn't go, and I watched the game on Sky. So I'm listening to the commentators, and before the game, and in the first few minutes, they're saying, "Oh, how was this goalkeeper? Apparently, Stoke's Player of the Year. How was he Player of the Year? He's a goalkeeper." And within about 10 minutes, they stopped asking that question. His reactions, his command of the box. But do you know what impressed me more than anything? Is sometimes you see keepers and they'll make a save, and then they're shouting at everyone. They're bang up for it. It's everyone else's fault for a shot going off. He was just laughing. He was absolutely loving his life, going, "Hey, you're not getting past me." Full of confidence. And I believed him. It psyched me out. I was going, well, there's no point shooting because we're not going to score. You know, you knew there was no way we're going to score. And I was exactly the same as you. I looked at their bench and thought, well, this is now Ennis's 1-0 win, isn't it? So I was glad that didn't happen. That was about it. I think if I said it in my initial reaction, and I stick by it. If we play that game 100 times, we will win 99 of them. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not your day when you've got Ohashi running through and he slips over, and the keeper's having a worldie. Gay's missing effectively a free header and an open goal. And I didn't feel like anyone necessarily let us down. I know there was, I know that we had the penalty, but generally, like there was no one that I felt I pointed out and said, "You had a terrible game. You had a terrible game." It seemed like it just wasn't our day, and I felt quite positive about certain things, like Harry Leonard's coming on and he got a couple of chances and he looked quite sharp, and so I was quite impressed with that. But generally, it was just one of those days, and I really wanted to kind of skip over this game and just go straight into the Cardiff one. But I think there were so many positives that we did keep going and we did keep playing our game. And everyone did seem to remain positive. There was moments of frustration. You could tell Cantwell was getting a little bit annoyed with certain things. But that's because of his quality compared to everyone else. And I think he needs to kind of understand that. But generally, other than Gay missing that one chance and Ohashi falling over, there was no real moments where I looked at and gone, "Do you know what? That is terrible. Like, that is the reason we've lost this game."
Yeah, I mean, I thought Pears did okay. He had a couple of things to do and did them quite well. I thought Hyam once again played pretty well. Pickering and Britton came in and did pretty well. There was nothing glaringly obvious, was there, that you went, well, that needs to change. I mean, Gay, I felt sorry for Gay because he's got absolute pelters on social media. Most of social media after the game was all about Gay. It was either Johansson or Gay. Now, Harry Leonard came on the pitch and his first chance, he headed it wide. And everyone's going, "Oh, well, Harry Leonard, yeah, that's what he does. Look at him. He's got into the positions." Fully agree. But then you could say the same about Gay. I think the problem with Gay was he's had this run of games where he's not scored, and everyone's, including us, are turning around and going, well, actually, we're not getting crosses in for him. That's the problem. They get a cross in 3 yards from goal, and he still manages to miss. So I think what's happened is it's kind of gone, we can't defend you now. But again, if he had that header 9 times out of 10, he couldn't. If he tried to hit it over the bar, he couldn't. It's just impossible how he managed to do that. So that's the kind of thing that happens when it's not your day, when you're absolutely low on confidence, you're snatching at things, you're looking at things coming across, and normally he wouldn't even think about that. Look at the Stockport games, he just wouldn't think about that header. And instead, he's trying to get loads of power in to make sure it goes into the net, and he's got headed it down with that much force, it's gone over the bar. Leonard comes on, did exactly what Leonard does. He had one chance where he should have scored, and then he had one where he spun in the box and he snatched at it, but he couldn't really do much else. But that was in about 10 minutes. And the positives, I think, because the players are so bought into Eustace and the way that we're playing, that will have helped. If that game had been under Thomason when the players had stopped believing in what they were doing and had that performance, I think it would have really gone wrong now. The fact that we've obviously had Saturday and they've carried on playing that way tells me still they are so bought into Eustace, so bought into the way we're playing, because we've got looked at that and gone, look at all these positives. If you're not believing in what the manager's saying, you're going into a meeting the day after and the manager's going, do you know what, lads? I know we've lost, but there's so many positives. You'd be sat there going, yeah, whatever. What are you on about? We've lost again. Whereas they've clearly gone, do you know what? You're right. We'll play like that again and it will work. And I'm so pleased for them all, obviously as a Rovers fan, but I am so pleased that they did almost a mirror performance and got exactly what they deserved. And I'm actually so positive now, although we've got 3 points out of the 2 games, I'm so positive going into the next period, because that is a way that we can sustain playing, in terms of it's not relying on individual from Campbell and you go, well, I can't do that every week. That was a team performance, and I don't feel like it was individually based. So I'm compared to this time last week, to say we've had 1 defeat and 1 win, I feel so much more positive about us going forward. And I don't mean attacking, I just mean progressing with the season.
Which is why it's quite hard when we do this podcast now to talk about the game as an isolation, because, and that's what obviously we're trying to do. That's why we do these little audio match reactions, so then people can hear how down we were after that game. Because I do think that we spoke kind of on the same level that a lot of Rovers fans felt after that game. Like, we did feel really low that you can play as well as what you did and still come away with a 2-0 loss against a very poor side. And I think because of the results that have gone before, if the results that have gone before were all scattered wins and a few points, then I think we would have been okay. But because the form was dipping and things were going against us, and then you go and play well, which wasn't the first time we've played well and lost, but when we felt like we dominated as much as we did and not score. I mean, there's losing and then there's losing by not scoring, and doing both at home. I think that's why we came away, and that's why we do these match audio reactions, especially when we've got these 2 games, because we can talk about it in isolation. But we do know that what happened in the game after. So let's just finish off the Stoke game talking about the fan reaction, and I'll ask you the 3-word reaction. So on the Rovers Twitter for that full time, I put, I feel hard done by. Tommy put, absolutely no hope. Battered a crap team and get beat 2-0. Unreal. Expect similar for the rest of the season. Strikers couldn't hit a barn door. Absolutely appalling. How's the ball hasn't gone in? Can we swap Gay for Gallagher? That's definitely a conversation to have at some point. Adam put, you'll struggle to find a more one-sided defeat this season. Feel sorry for Eustace. We played well, but means little when we are so bleep in front of goal. The chances we wasted, unforgivable. No exaggeration. If we don't buy a decent striker in January, we'll be relegated. I'll be honest, there's a lot of people. I mean, Jack's put release Gay. Not even made it till Christmas before the collapse. I think everyone just felt extremely negative after that. But did you have any 3-word reactions?
Yeah, I mean, they got infiltrated by Stoke fans, as did our match reaction. And I had a very interesting conversation with a Stoke fan about Lewis Baker as well, which was very interesting. But yeah, to be honest, the Stoke fans I will take out of it. But we've got Leo Woodstock, bring back Smodics. I don't know where he's hoping we managed to pull that one from, but where Glenn Oates need a striker, I was in full agreement. You might not like this one, Mike, but I'm going to have to share it. Hedges is dreadful. Then we had Ian Farriman, toothless up front again. Skids, absolutely rubbish finishing. But Barn was all of us, I think. He just replied with, what's the point?
And that was the thing. It did feel like, what is the point anymore? And that's definitely how we felt after. But I'm going to ask you the quick one-word answer, and this is about performance. Was you happy with the performance?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. And we left that Stoke game, and me and you had chats, and we're on social media. Everyone feels really negative about life, and we go into a very tough game away at Cardiff. We'd already spoken about the fact that obviously they're not in the best of form themselves. They've sorted a few things out here or there. But generally, it was a game that we hoped to get something out of. After that Stoke game, I think there was a lot of pressure, but I was a bit surprised that we did go unchanged. But let's listen to the match reaction audio, and I do think it's a little bit different to the last one.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. I just goes to show how much I know that Pears and Travis go and put in the performances that they have done, and they were the two of the players I wanted to get rid of. So yeah, the turnaround of them boys have been brilliant. But yeah, unexpected win for me. I hoped that we'd go there and put in a better performance. We did. We got the goals. We just seemed to do the right things at the right time. Baker did well when he came on. Obviously, Vman's 2 goals, amazing. But Travis's ball through, unreal from him. And yeah, just really happy. It's a good one for us. Hopefully we build on it, and we'll talk about it in the pod.
Well, Mikey boy, I think that's been coming. I thought we played really well. What a move for that. Was it 47, 48 passes? Jesus Christ. We are Barcelona. We're going back up. We are going up.
What the difference a few days makes, eh?
I think it was relief from my point of view, because I was getting pelters from everybody I talked to when they were saying about the Stoke game. And I was saying, I know, but how well did we play? And everyone was like, I don't care, because we can't score. We can't win. People were talking about get rid of Eustace, get Robbins in. All this kind of thing was going on. And I felt so conflicted, because I was so happy about the performance and yet so dejected. So the fact that we then went and did both at Cardiff, I was like, oh, thank God for that. Thank God for that.
Yeah, I had quite a few messages. I know quite a few Cardiff fans. I'm actually in Cardiff tomorrow, so hopefully going to chat to a few fans with work. And I had a few messages, and they were saying, "Where's that come from?" Like, brilliant side, and all of this. And it was people that obviously don't watch us week in, week out, and they were looking at us thinking, "Why are you not top of the league?" And it's like, well, we are a team that, you know, when it works, and when it doesn't, well, I'm afraid it doesn't, and we don't find a way through. And I think that's been the thing, is when it works for us, it's brilliant. Everything seems great, and we all get excited. But when it doesn't work, whilst I do believe Eustace does have a plan B, there's times where it hasn't quite worked for us. There have been games where, you know, we have been poor and we've managed to get something out. I mean, the Swansea game where we won 1-0, I think that was the game where we didn't play that great and we still won. But I said to people, I said, I'm really falling in love with this team again, because, you know, when a squad is stitched together like this, you know, you can't help but love it. You could go and spend 300 million and just go and buy the best players, but you don't love it the same as this. You know, this team has been cobbled together from free transfers, loans, people coming up through the youth side, and, you know, just kind of risky signings, cross your fingers, hope for the best. And when they go and put in a performance like this, it's amazing. You know, I said it's like a car. you can go and buy yourself a top of the range BMW, but you don't fall in love with it like you have that real crap Mondeo that you're taking down the garage every week to try and get fixed. You know, that's the car you fall in love with. And I feel the same with this team. And after this game, I just felt like all the media and everyone saying how well we played, that goal, going on about the ball from Travis and players getting in team of the week. It gave me goosebumps. I was like, this is why I love this team. And I just felt, I couldn't believe the difference I felt after that game to the Stoke game.
Absolutely. I mean, I added artistic license, I think, with the passes. Did I get it up to 47 or 48 by the time I'd finished the reaction audio? But I think what I love so much, I think it's all born out of personal things where the players have suffered a setback. So Pears has been questioned by everybody. Travis has been questioned by JDT publicly and embarrassed. Sent on loan, and all right, he went on loan to a team that ended up getting promoted, but didn't get in their team really. He's come back, he's captain. He's, Eustace made contact with him the moment he got the job, and I think he's repaying that. You've got people like Andy Vman who, probably could have had a contract somewhere, but he's been released. Whether that's his choice or not, nobody's. The nicest possible way, he's ended up with us. So he can't have had that many offers that, in teams above us. Campbell has obviously been written off. It's a team of people that Pickering's, everyone's been saying, well, that's Owen Beck's spot. And I know he's injured, but Pickering's gone, well, hold on a minute. Is it? Callum Britton has sometimes been second, third choice in people's minds. Hyam's been written off. It's just a team of people that I've got something to prove, and I think are playing in a way the last two games that I think sustainable. And I don't mean that they'll perform like that every single week. But under JDT, there was an element where it wasn't sustainable even within a game. It was 10 minutes, it was 15 minutes. This way of playing is, yes, on Saturday, they probably all played 8 9s out of 10. That's not going to happen every week. But the way they are playing and the way they fight for each other and the way they play as a team, I think is sustainable. It doesn't feel like they're going to run out of steam. It doesn't run out of, it's not like Campbell's pulling a rabbit out of the hat and you go, well, he's not going to do that every week. This is a way that you could see Britain coming out of the team, Duru even stepping in, Pickering coming out, Beck stepping in. I think there's something sustainable about this, albeit they're still very short in some key areas. But there's loads to like about it. And I just think that there's a team that you look at, and once again, like those great teams under Mowbray in terms of great as in when you looked at them, you saw a mirror image of what you want to see. As a fan, the last thing you want to be seeing on the pitch is players who are not even giving everything you would give. And this team do that every single time. And the fact that we can't question their heart ever and their resilience and their attitude, I cannot fault them. I really can't. And I think we've all got to hold our hands up to Ainsley Pears. Yes, he might go and do what he did at Wigan years ago for the next 10 games in a row. But actually, his mental strength and his mental resilience was questioned. It was questioned that, do you know what? He can't recover from that Sheffield Wednesday game. The players will never support him again. He needs to go. Well, fair play, because he's done something right now that I didn't think he could do. And Lewis Travis is performing at a level now where I'm actually wondering whether we can keep hold of him. That's my question. Not, can he maintain this form? Can we keep hold of him is the question in my mind. I'm so pleased for them, and I'm so pleased for Eustace.
Well, we'll get into more details on the Pears and Travis because I think it's something we definitely need to talk about. We'll talk about that in a second, actually, because I think you're absolutely right. I think credit where credit's due, and there's a little bit of a humble pie I need to eat, but also there needs to be an understanding that they have actually upped their game. So we'll delve into them in a second, actually. But when I watch this team, and let's be honest, every single player on that pitch is not the best in their position in the Championship. I get that. We can improve every single player. But I felt like they just played the best that they could play. They were the best versions of themselves that day, basically. And, let's be honest, Cardiff weren't the best. They didn't play to our weaknesses. So they didn't press too much at the back. When we did make that move and we was passing it around, they had a very lazy press. And it was like they just wanted us to pass it around and just waste time. But what we're doing when we pass it around is opening it up, and it did, and they played into our hands. So I thought that they played quite poor. I don't think that they offered much against us in the most part. I mean, they weren't. Am I being harsh on Cardiff? Or do you think they were decent? But I didn't think they were up to much.
I think you're 100% right, and I think you're absolutely spot on to point that out. I would say that when our players are practicing that in training and the unlocking of teams and the moving it from side to side and looking for the opportunity and the right time to play the ball that Travis played, for example, to stretch the game, I'm going to go as far as saying that our players playing against them when they play 11v11 and they're rehearsing that give them a tougher time than Cardiff did with their press. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It was my wife's birthday. I had it on the phone, on the table while I was having lunch, and she was absolutely fuming with me. But every time I was watching it and obviously pretending to, be included in the conversation, but I was just watching us. It was like a training game. It was, and then we scored that goal, which was an unreal goal. It was just, I don't know. It just seemed like Cardiff just couldn't be asked, and it could have been that we were playing really, really well at that point. But it did feel like they played into our hands. And let's talk about that first goal, because obviously there was an offside goal as well, which a lot of people have moaned about. He should never have been offside in the position he was in. But ignoring that, this goal, it was a beauty to watch. I mean, we obviously see the goal we scored against Derby shared quite a lot. Is this going to be up there with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see one. Well, I can see one because he scored against Burnley. But other than that and who it was against, this would win player goal of the year, wouldn't it? I mean, Pickering's 1-1 against Sheffield United, which was a good team goal and a real clinical counter-attack. But this was all about, I think, the people who have a pop at us playing out from the back, this is what it's about. There was no risky passes. We passed back to Pears, not because there was nothing else on, but with a reason. And they waited, and then they played it. They're always playing with a purpose, and they were waiting for Cardiff to fall into our trap. And every single one of them, including where Ohashi stepped into, knew where they should go. And I'm just honestly so pleased, because you can see the work they do on the training ground. You can see them getting better week in, week out. And like you say, we could probably go out and buy somebody better from the Championship for every position. But these players are working so hard to improve themselves and to be the best they can be. And like proud fathers, that's all you'd ever want. Yeah,
100%. And, they stuck with the same team that played Stoke, which just showed that he was quite confident how we played against Stoke, that he was willing to give them another chance. And they go out there. I thought the subs came at the right time as well. Obviously, we was 2-0 up before we made the first sub, but they came at the right time, and they go and get a penalty, another silly penalty to give away. Pears makes a good save. Obviously, the rebound goes in, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, is this going to be a typical Rovers thing? But no, the subs came at the right time, and we turned the screw, and we kept in control. And for the first time in a few years, I don't feel like if we went 2-0 up and we concede, that we're going to concede again and go on to lose it. Under JDT, I did have that element, because it was this swashbuckling way of playing football, like all or nothing. Whereas Eustace, I don't have that feeling. I mean, I know that there's going to be days where it's just not our days, but I do feel like the lads, when they're up against adversity, doesn't necessarily mean it's over.
Yeah, I think JDT had this one way of playing, didn't he? And it felt like if you hadn't got far enough in front in the first 15, 20 minutes, first half, then you were never going to extend on that. It was kind of, I just hope that's enough. Under Eustace, I feel like they're prepared for, right, if they get one here, lads, we know what we need to do. This is how we tighten it up. We get back into our shape. The fullbacks come really narrow. We stay within the width of the box. Travis and Tronstad, you drop so there's no gap for the 10s. And it's like, almost like they've prepared for it and they've got a plan. Who'd have thought? Whereas under JDT, it was kind of like, well, let's just hope they don't get more than us and hopefully we'll get the ball and we'll carry on playing how we did. But you can't because they'd run out of energy and they'd sussed out what we were doing more often than not. There's just so much to like about this team. There is so much to like about it. And I think you're absolutely right. Full credit to Eustace because he had a big job after the Stoke game, turning around to those players and showing them all the things they've done well, but convincing them that you've got faith in them. And that's clearly why he picked the same team. Because, one, they deserved it performance-wise, but it would have been easy to go, like we were, geez, we're going to have to try something different here. Do we change formation? Do we go bring Leonard and Gay? Do we put Tijon in? What do we do here? It's still not working. But he didn't. He's clearly gone to them. Do you know what? That performance was top draw, and I have got full faith in you, and I'll show you because you're all going back out again. And that won't happen again, lads. If you play like that again, you'll get what you deserve. And they did. And he's got to take massive credit because this is a team that didn't have a backbone, didn't have a resilience, didn't know how to close games out. And you're right, at 2-1, as a fan, you're going, oh, God, here we go, particularly on the back of the run that we've got. But then you start watching the game unfold and you relax because you go, do you know what? These players aren't capitulating. They've solidified it a little bit. We've made the right changes and we've now just changed the way we're playing slightly and we look at more of a threat on the counter than we did before. So I just feel that there's an element of control about us that I've not seen for a long time.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't put my finger on what it is. I think it's because I do trust Eustace and I do trust these lads. And a lot of them are the same from last year. Obviously, there's a few changes here or there, but I don't know. I don't know what it is, but when they scored that penalty, I wasn't worried. I wasn't nervous. I just felt like the game was still in control. Probably because it was a penalty that went in. I think, well, effectively a penalty. Obviously, I know it was the rebound. I think if they'd, really cut us apart and scored a good goal, it might have been different. But it did feel like, it was just a penalty, a cute consolation goal for Cardiff. We're going to carry on and win this game. And it was proved to be right. And we did go and get that goal. Lewis Baker goes and gets his goal. I think that I saw a stat to do with the XG from him from there was meant to be 0.3 XG, and he goes and gets the goal. Now, I want to bring up something that you mentioned earlier on the pod and something that you have spoken to me about, that Lewis Baker, the Stoke fans that you spoke to about him, he is quality, isn't he?
They could not believe he wasn't playing. So they'd said, there's some Stoke fans that I speak to when we go down to the Stoke games, and they were saying when we signed him, obviously a certain team down the road signed another centre midfielder from them, and they were going, you've got the better of the two. On his day, he's great. It's just, he doesn't necessarily have his day that often. They were talking about his quality and his technique, and then via social media, when I put the three-word review out, there was a Stoke fan came back and was talking about Johansson initially, and then he just said, how's Baker getting on? And I said, well, he's played a couple of times on the left, and that's been about it. Now he's not even coming off the bench, and he just couldn't believe it. He was saying his quality, his finishing, his shots from outside goal, his energy, but he's talking about his technique and how actually he can play centre mid, but number 10 roles is his position. And he's got the energy, he's got the athleticism, and we've just not seen that enough. So when we're talking about Dolan and saying he's the only one that we can see that's got the athleticism to play that role how Eustace wants, actually, it makes it all the more baffling that Baker isn't getting a chance. And that finish, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was it 0.03 XG? I mean, basically, XG is a load of rubbish anyway, isn't it? Basically, it means how sure should the goal be? Well, I mean, Gaze must have been near enough one when he missed that one against Stoke. But, I mean, the keeper was dire. I mean, you're more qualified than me, Mike, but
I think he was unsighted, to be fair. Yeah, he's looked up and he's seen a gap and he knows that if he puts a bit of swerve on it around this play, you know, he's got a chance. But that's the quality and that's what we need generally. Yeah. I mean, we want that out of a striker as well. And I mean, Ohashi, I thought, had a good game. He was very creative, but he's definitely playing the kind of role that makes me think he's actually in that number 10, something that you've brought up and we've spoken about. He would be good in that 10. It was Cantwell, obviously, that played in that 10, but I thought Ohashi had a good game. But Baker, I mean, we've talked about Ryan Hedges the last few weeks, and everyone knows, like, you know, I have spoken about Hedges being a good player, and everyone knows what he can offer. But he is a player that needs a break. And when Baker comes on and scored from that position, you do think, okay, we've got a bit of quality there now. You know, there is someone there that can cut inside and have a shot. He's got that quality to actually link up the play as well. So why not put Baker there and give Hedges a break? Now, we're into the international break now, so, you know, it all gets thrown back up in the air ready for after that. But yeah, I just felt like when Baker came on, it was great to get a goal because we've spoken about him. We know what people have said. We know what he can do. I mean, I said to you, didn't I? I've bought him on Football Manager the last few football managers, and he's always got me promoted. So the digital Lewis Baker is I'm a big fan of the digital one, and now I'm a big fan of the real one. So yeah, I think he's definitely someone that can come on and offer some quality. But I'd like to see him start now. It was good to see them subs come on and actually get the result, get it finished, and us to move on and go into the international break. I mean, we've talked about Pears and Travis. Let's talk about Vman and his finishes. His vision his vision and movement was quality, wasn't it? It looked like two well-designed plays.
100%. I mean, Andy Vman's timing's been what's made him the player it is, isn't it? You know, it's not. I know he scored that one against Burnley. I know he scored some great goals, but generally speaking, Andy Vman's goals are timing his run beyond the defence or timing his run into the box there. But I don't think you can talk about Andy Vman this game without talking about Ohashi. You touched on it there, Mike. Ohashi's performance was tremendous, and people initially, and I know, I don't know if you know. There's a young boy called Dylan on social media who goes to the Rovers games. They live down near Portsmouth, I think. And they're on TikTok, and they are everywhere on TikTok. And he travels up from Portsmouth games, and apparently he loves. Do you remember we did a match reaction, and I said about Ohashi, I love him, I love him, I love him. And he apparently quotes it a lot and used it for Vman. It was quite funny. But yeah, so Ohashi, though, I did say I loved him against Norwich, and you couldn't not because Duffy was on his rear and all of that. But I've not been sold on him yet. I needed to see more because I could see the goals, I could see the finishes, fine. But I was worried about what happens when defenders suss him out. How is his touch going to be? How's he going to look in a number 9? I mean, his physicality is better than I thought it would be. Coming from the jleague, which is not known for its physicality. But I wasn't sure about him just because I've not seen enough. I needed to see a bit more proof. And actually, the way he played at weekend, the role he played, that number 9, dropping off, but then actually willing to stretch to play, he looks a bit fitter. He looks like he's able to stretch the play and stretch his legs a bit. And the reason that Vman was able to get in was not just down to Vman's timing of the run. It was the way Ohashi dragged the defenders out of position and allowing Vman to get in. So the two working together was quite impressive. And I'm going to be honest, not just because of his lack of goals, but I really struggle to see Matt Targett getting a run of games. And I don't mind that, because I think you've got to pin your colours to the mast a little bit with a striker. You've got to put your faith in the striker and say, you know what, you are predominantly my number 9, unless a game calls for something different. And this is how we're going to play. And I think I feel now in a position where I think Ohashi can make that his role. He's got to add goals to it, of course. But equally, Vman, we've talked about him not starting. We've talked about, has he got the legs? We know we can do things like this, though. And when you're struggling for goals, it's an invaluable asset to have.
Well, it says a lot that when we make subs, it does tend to be the front 4 that are swapping round because of the work that they have to do.
Yeah.
You know, we rarely bring off the centre mids and obviously centre backs unless there's injuries. Wing backs, okay, potentially, but we do tend to sub those attacking ones. And they do swap into different positions. So people are moaning about the fact that the strikers aren't scoring. Well, like you said, Ohashi comes away and actually leaves the gap for, which is effectively the striker's position for someone to move into. So yes, the strikers aren't scoring, and yes, the strikers have missed some chances. But as long as those front 4 are scoring, I'm quite comfortable. Yeah. It's very easy for us to sit here now after a 3-1 away win at Cardiff and say, you know, everything's right and rosy. It's not. We know it's not, and there's a lot that we need to work on. And you know, we don't want it to be a flash in the pan. But the thing is the performances have been there. And we, like you said, it was coming that we was going to go and have a game where things went right. Now, it's great to go into an international break after having this result, because then, like you say, it justifies and it vindicates Eustace and what he's doing. And he can then say to the lads, look, if you just carry on doing this and you carry on working hard, this is your rewards. And I completely agree with what you said, you know, about the unchanged side. He is pointing out and saying to them, look, I trust you. You were doing the right things. It didn't work. If you carry on, it will work. And it has done. And I think it is brilliant. I do think we still do need to rotate, and it's going to be really interesting at the, coming out of the international break what we do. But looking at the performance of the players, there wasn't a player there that I didn't feel didn't do his part in the results. You know, the first goal came from the right-hand side. If you look at the pass map, I think it was I saw it on Twitter, and everything was down the right-hand side. It was back and forth, and then obviously we get the goal. And then defensively from the left-hand side, I thought we played really well. So it was just a really good team effort. And I know Andy Vman got man of the match and got the goals, but generally, every single player, Travis's through ball for the second goal, the vision I didn't realise Travis had. It generally just everyone played their part, and that's why I was really chuffed about this one, because it was a great performance. Everyone played their part, and we got the result, and it was a way where we've struggled to get points. So it just seemed like that complete performance.
Yeah, and this particular international break has not been happy for us, has it? If you think back, this is the one where Preston beat us last year. This is the one where year before we had the Dingles down the road, and then we went into the Preston one. This is not a happy international break for us. So those people saying, oh, the collapse has happened early, actually usually happens now. And going into that international break with the points is so important, because they're not stewing on it now, and that can reinvigorate that belief for them. Absolutely, you're right. It's not all hunky-dory. We are lacking some quality and some depth. That's why we will end up where we will end up. But I don't think, and people need to hold on to the fact that Eustace is getting more tune out of these players than probably some of them have got. But then you're absolutely right to mention Lewis Travis there. I know Vman got man of the match and he scored 2 goals. His movement was great. Bob on. But Lewis Travis was the man of the match by anybody's who was watching that game for me. The second goal, I mean, the first goal, he was the one who made the decision to make the play go forwards and when it should go on the ball. And the second goal, you're absolutely right. That's exactly how I saw it. It's vision I didn't think he had. So when the ball comes to him, Pickering's making a run, and there's the right back and the winger, and Pickering's between them. And I thought all day long, a good ball for Lewis Travis. is just in front of Pickering for him to knock it on and cross the ball with. I didn't even think Lewis Travis would see the other pass, let alone execute it as perfectly as he did. And I'm going to hold my hands up because that was, I mean, he played one, if you remember, at QPR once that was similar. And I can't remember who it was who scored. And after the game, we were wearing the red kit. And after the game, there was the one where Rankin Costello did an interview. And he said, he was talking to the camera guy and he said, did you hear Travis? After that, he was running away going, Kevin De Bruyne. And then they made a joke to him after this game. And they said, you were like Kevin De Bruyne today. And he was like, I'm not getting into that again. But it was a ball of real quality. And with everything we mentioned, if we mentioned Lewis Travis's top 5 qualities, it wouldn't be vision and it wouldn't be passing. And he's really improved for me. I know we're going to come on to it, but I just watched him and I was thinking, you're better than I thought you were. And you've been like that all season now. And it's not just the good performances. It's actually a level that you are showing that I didn't know you had. And I just, looking at him now in our team, he's so important to that team. And it makes it all the more bizarre and ridiculous that JDT couldn't get this out of him and couldn't find a place for him. And I will get pelters for this, but JDT wanted Lewis Travis out of this club. And it was a club decision, whoever made that, but it was a club decision to make sure that was only a loan. Now, yes, you should be backing your manager, but something in the back of their mind, obviously, thought, I don't want to let him go yet. We'll just wait and see how this one plays out. We'll back the manager and get him out the building for now, but they weren't prepared to let him fully go. And it's looking like a bloody good decision because what will be got 900 grand for him at the time, people were saying.
Well, that's the thing. And looking at the fan reactions, people saying a performance matched with the result, outstanding from all of them, Pears and Travis especially. Baker coming on, easing the pressure and securing that first league away win. Captain Trav led by example today. Travis in the middle was a different beast for us and has been for a while. Cardiff have been on a resurgence lately, so to go and get 3 points is really good for that. After half-time, we all surely knew that they'd step it up. They had to. It was daft for the penalty, but we stayed strong for the 3 points. So, yeah, it's just what a difference a few days makes, really. There's a lot of people now calling for Baker to start. But it's all love for Travis. People mentioning Ohashi. Yeah, definitely a change of tune this time. But was there any favourite 3-word reactions?
Yeah, there was loads of positivity, obviously. People saying we scored goals. Andy bloody Vman. There was quite a few saying we're back. We are back. And but 2 favourite ones: Skids, 41 passes, goal. And Ian Faramond is 100% correct. Barcelona in disguise. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't think I need to ask you this, but they're happy with the performance, 1-word answer?
100%.
Exactly. So, right, so we move on, and it's the international break where we all talk about international football. Right, that's enough international football. Okay, so we go back. We come back against Portsmouth, isn't it? Is the next game back. So we'll review that in next week's pod. And just to talk about next week's pod, we are going to do a mailbag special. So make sure you get loads of questions in. More obscure, the better. You can ask us anything, Rovers, not Rovers, and we'll stick it out there. But while you are here, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. You've been really good at getting our subscribers up, and we are doing really well, but we need to boost it, and hopefully we'll get to where we want to be, and we can give you better content, get some players on here, ex-coaches and so on, and we can bore you with all the details in the future on that one. But yeah, make sure you do that. So
just
there's only one topic. Mike, carry on.
Tez Ilias has spoken to us. He's currently on tour. He hasn't asked me to plug his tour, but he is currently on tour. There are tickets still available, and they are at King George's Hall in about a week, I think. But he's coming back on. So everyone's been asking, when's he coming back on? Obviously, when we had him on, it was on Rovers Chat. He, top bloke, Rovers fan, he was on live at the Apollo the other day. I mean, we know Mike because we spent the time with him. I didn't quite know what to expect. I've seen him on Twitter and he'll put things out there and he'll be quite open about it. But when he came on, he said some of the things he said. And I remember saying to him when the recording had finished, do you want any of this taken out? I mean, obviously, people might know, they might not. But we record this in one hit. If we make a mess of it and we make ourselves look like idiots, we crack on. But he came on, he said a couple of things that I thought, maybe you might not want that to go out. And he was like, put it out there, not bothered. I was like, okay.
Yeah, he didn't care. He was a good lad.
And it's speaking for the heart, and he's a genuine big Rovers fan. So he's just, once he's finished his tour, he said he'll have loads of time in his hand. His wife will have had enough of him, so he'll come and talk Rovers. So he will be coming back.
No, that will be a good one. He was a good lad, and like you say, genuine as well, genuine Rovers fan. It's great to have people on, and it won't just be him. There'll be others hopefully in the future. So make sure you do like and subscribe. So there's only one topic for us to talk about this week. We've alluded to it a few times, but it is Lewis Travis and Ainsley Pears. Their performances. Now, I'll kick us off on this one. So the question is, were we wrong as Rovers fans? We weren't the only ones moaning about Travis. We weren't the only ones moaning about Pears. I think Pears was an absolute shoe-in for leaving the club in the summer. I think there was a lot going on to try and replace him. I think one of the reasons, obviously, he even got game time is we couldn't get the guys that we wanted through the door, and no Toth's come in, but he came in a little bit later on, and Pears had already been playing okay, and we said, okay, well, until Pears actually makes a mistake, he's not going to lose his spot. So I think Pears carried on basically just because we had no other option. Volstead wasn't the answer, and it was a choice. We either put a young lad in goal or we stick with Pears, and we stuck with Pears, and look what he's done. And now I think you look at him, and Toth's come in and maybe pushed him a little bit more because Volstead wasn't him. So maybe Toth has come in and actually shown Pears, actually, I've come to take your job. I haven't actually watched him play yet, but I'm guessing he's of more quality than Volstead was. So you've got that side of things, and then you've got Lewis Travis, where, as you've just said, Mark, the club wanted to keep him. It was a JDT thing. So I said that. So one thing that I'd said was he just seemed like a petulant child a lot. He was doing Travis things, and that was great, but he wasn't what we needed. We needed a bit of quality. We needed a leader, and I didn't feel like he was him. They've both come in. They've got a run of games, and now they are two of the first names on the team sheet. Most solid performers, the ones getting the 7s out of 10 plus a game. So the question is, Mark, were we wrong in the first place, or have they just upped their game?
I think if I take it separately, I don't think we were wrong about Pears. I think Pears last season and towards the end of the season, I couldn't see how he had a future at the club. I'd lost all faith in him. I think the players seem to have lost faith in him at that Wednesday game. And I couldn't believe that we couldn't improve on him. And you're right. For me, I think Toth has suffered because he's coming late. He's suffered because there's no Carabao Cup game to throw him in, so we can see what whether he sinks or swims. But it's not even a question in my mind, and it's not a question that fans are even asking. It's not a debate. You think when Volstead came in, the whole debate was around, when's he playing Volstead? When's he playing Volstead? When can we get Pears Pears? Every single week, and it was becoming a problem. And we talked and compared it to when Ray had gone in at Arsenal, and they were saying, oh, there's two keepers here at the same level. When's it going to be Raya? Is it going to be Ramsdale? It's the same with on a very lower level, but with Pears and Volstead. This is not a debate. You don't hear anybody going, when's Toth getting a game? I mean, it was asked to Eustace at the Q&A, you've brought in Toth, when's he going to be playing? And he said, have you seen Ainsley Pears' form? Done. Nobody else batted an eyelid. Travis, I think, I mean, I know you were always his antics were not what you wanted to see in your captain. I don't mind that too much. I think it's one of them that I used to love Robbie Savage, where he'd chuck himself about and things like that. And I think Savage possibly did it with a bit more nous, but I think Travis is doing that now. So there's times where somebody goes in for a challenge and he's making sure the referee knows that was a horrific tackle. Even if it wasn't quite horrific, he's got a plan behind it. I don't mind it too much. A bit of gamesmanship. I think we've been lacking that a bit. But my query with Travis was, I don't think he can play in a single pivot on his own. In old money, the sitting midfielder. I don't think he's got the tactical nous to do it. And I said that last season. I said that at the beginning of the season. And I still say that now. I don't think he's got that understanding and reading of the game that Tronstad has got. So if we wanted to change formation, I don't think we'd see the Lewis Travis we're seeing now in that number 6 role, that sitting midfielder, if you played the 2 in front of him. Playing in front, where he played under JDT, which was seemingly the only role, he was on the ball too much almost, and I felt it exposed him. He didn't look comfortable, and we felt we could improve on if we were going to carry on playing that way. So then when we've gone back to the 2 sitting midfielders, this has undoubtedly always been his best position. I think we've both agreed on that having somebody with the energy that he's got and the tactical nous of Tronstad is a perfect marriage. So I think we're not being inconsistent with that. I think we've always kept that energy, but what he has done is stepped up. He's showing us now things that I didn't think he had in his locker. I didn't think he had the vision and the passing that he showed at weekend. I didn't think he had the ability to control his housery as well as he is. I think sometimes he'd get too wrapped up in it and he'd get caught out and he'd end up making a silly challenge or pulling somebody down when there was no need. And he was giving yellow cards away, not when they were on the counter-attack and it was a smart foul. He was giving them away because he was getting frustrated and he was just a shoo-in for a booking and a suspension waiting to happen. I didn't think he had goals in him. And that's because I'd watched Lewis Travis for the past 5 or 6 years. And all he'd shown me was energy, commitment, willingness to dive into a tackle, willingness to fight for the shirt and get up and down, but not this. So we were going off the evidence that we've seen. Whereas now, I think it's now far enough into the season to say, do you know what? He's showing us a level of consistency and maturity that I don't think he's had before. I think he's improved massively to the point where, has he gone away to Ipswich and has he gone away from Rovers and gone, maybe he did think he was better than he is. He was talking to JDT, wasn't he, saying, I want to play here. JDT didn't want him in and around. Various rumours around he was standing up for the younger players. Well, that's a great trait. But he's gone to Ipswich and he's not played ahead of Sam Morsey. And I was looking at that as he was coming back over the summer and thinking, I dislike Sam Morsey anyway. But if you're not getting ahead of Sam Morsey, you're not good enough. And we can and you're causing trouble around the place, then let's just let him go. Now, he's come and done that interview and dispelled that and given his version of events and said, I could have done this at the time, but I didn't want to because that wouldn't have been the best thing for Rovers. Fair play. Can't argue with that. I want to be here. I want to captain this team. I want to play for this club. All things that fans want to hear, but I didn't feel it was fake. It felt genuine. And then the way he's playing on the pitch, he's shown all the wonderful things that we love about Travis, but more. He's showing a maturity now and a level of understanding and reading of the game that he's got. I still don't think he can play in that 6 role, so I'm not changing that energy on his own. I think he could do it, but he's not good enough there. But I'm now starting to look at Lewis Travis, and I picked up his contract details. He runs out in 2 years from this summer. And I'm looking at him and thinking, when he played against Sheffield United, looking at their midfielders, looking at Cardiff's midfielders, looking at Leeds midfielders, where Rothwell's getting a game. In the Championship, I'm going to say right now, and so far this season, there won't be many all-round midfielders better than the way Lewis Travis is playing right now. So I'm not changing and going back on what I'm saying. I'm just saying the things he's added to his game, I didn't think he had in him. And he's added goals.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely added more. And I think you're absolutely right with everything you've said there. I think the tactics have suited both of them, actually, bringing Pears into the conversation as well. I think both of them have been really well suited to Eustace. I think it comes down to Eustace's man management to build them both up, because I think that they both did take a knock. Finishing off the Travis conversation a little bit, I do think the loan did help Travis, whether it was a negative experience or a positive experience. It was an experience he needed to have. And I think he came back a new man. I think everything was just a perfect storm for him to come back and actually take it by the scruff of the neck. He's a Eustace player. I think Eustace likes this kind of player in his team. And I think he just needed love. And he's got that love, and he's come back. And like you say, the formation is absolutely perfect for him. Now, the fact that we're talking about a couple of things and saying, oh, do you remember this pass against QPR and this pass this weekend? It shows that he's not done it enough for me to say, oh, well, he's definitely got it in his locker week in, week out. A broken clock says the correct time twice a day. Sometimes accidents happen and you accidentally play the right ball. But I do think Travis does have a little bit more in his locker now. I do think that he has been extremely important for us this year. And I'm not ready to admit I was wrong on him, because I think that I was making my decisions based on the current form that he was in, and the fact that I thought JDT was here to stay for a good 2-3 more years, and you could just tell that he wasn't going to work out. And I looked at Jake Garrett and I was like, well, hang on, Jake Garrett does basically what you do. So as long as Jake Garrett can go and get some minutes and develop, as far as I'm concerned, he's Travis 2.0. But Travis has come back in. I think there's a lot of people that have upped their game around him, which has helped him as well. And I think his leadership has been great. Exactly what you said. I love the fact he's in the referee's ear and doing stuff, because those are the dark arts that I do think you need. I don't like the petulance side of football, but that is modern football now, and I think it's something I need to understand myself, that is just part of the game and I need to accept that. I mean, like I said, when I'm coaching the players that I coach and they're there moaning at the ref and stuff, I'm there telling them not to do it, but then everyone else is, and then they're getting the decision. So I'm obviously wrong on that. That should be part of the game now. But anyway, and then we move on to Ainsley Pears. Now, Ainsley Pears 100% would not be at this club if we'd got Toth at the start of the summer. Toth would have just come in. He would have been training with the club. He would have had 50% of the game time in some way, shape or form. They would have just got him in more and more and more, and he would have started the season. And then that was it. He was off to the races. Pears would have just been out on loan or on the bench or completely gone. I complete credit where it's due. He has been mentally strong. He has made the odd mistake here or there that's very, very small, not led to a goal, which I think has helped. And he's made some cracking saves. I think he's shown great bravery physically as well as mentally. He's thrown himself into things. And I can't really point to many mistakes that he's made. Now, the worry is for me with Pears is that, form is temporary, class is permanent. I do think this is more of a form thing, because all goalkeepers make mistakes. And I think that when he's made mistakes, it's tended to lead to other mistakes. But credit where credit's due. I think that he's seen an opportunity to up his game. I think there's got to be some coaching there that's gone well. I mean, we've given Ben Benson absolute pelters over the last couple of years, but there's got to be some coaching going on from Ben Benson, from Eustace, and he's done the job. And I wouldn't be surprised if Eustace just said to Pears, and well, actually, what you were saying about, have you seen, when Eustace said, have you seen the form Pears is in lately? He said that to you. He's obviously said the same to Pears, and he said, look, you're my guy. And there's nothing like that with a player. When you have your manager come to you and you say, you're my guy, especially after what happened last year, he must have been on cloud nine. And fair play to him. He's made cracking saves. He's doing really well with his feet. He's part of a lot of the play. And did you say in the Q&A, people are saying that he's one of the most vocal in the changing room as well? So from a confidence point of view in front of the players, he's obviously come back. And actually, the fact that he is playing so well this year compared to what he was last year, he's probably got even more respect from the players for going through this adversity, going through a stage of his career where it looked like he was on the way out and he had nothing, to where he is now, where everyone's looking at him and he's a rock in the goal. And that's what's happening. I don't think it's going to last, but it's, you've got to give credit where credit's due. He's doing really, really well.
Absolutely. I think, to summarise, I will hold my hands up when I'm wrong. I still think I'm right in that Travis can't play that number 6 role, and the fact that we're playing 2 there proves that. But it's not necessarily a criticism, because like we've said hundreds of times, if our players had every element of a game that you want a player in that position to have, they wouldn't be in the Championship, let alone wouldn't be with us. So you make do with what you've got, and what Travis does well suits the role that he's playing now, but he's added things to it, and I think he's performing at a level that I can see him maintaining. I don't think he's doing things that I hadn't seen him do often before, or often enough. But what I'm seeing in him, I can foresee these are improvements. And I thought, I don't think they're out of the realms of that being Travis moving forward. With Pears, I think fair play to him fully for coming back. I didn't think he had that in him, and I'm wrong about that. I didn't think he could recover from that. So I was massively wrong about that. However, I still, like you, think that he's performing probably at what we thought was his ceiling, maybe a 7 out of 10. I'm not yet ready to say that I was wrong about Pears, because I want to be wrong about Pears, but I can only say that after a longer period of time. Because a bit like, I talk about it quite a lot. I love my boxing. And Anthony Joshua had a resurgence. And everyone wanted Anthony Joshua to be back to what he was. But the moment he got clipped on the whiskers, he unravelled again. And I've yet to see Ainsley Pears drop an absolute clanger and recover from it. And to go, do you know what? That doesn't matter. I've been performing really well, and carry on in a straight line, not let it veer him off course. That's when I will believe Ainsley Pears is the new Ainsley Pears 2.0. And then at that point, I will sit here. I will go, do you know what? I was completely wrong about him. Let's reevaluate where he's at. He's only 26, young for a keeper. He's had some tough times. He's come through them. If he can come through that, he can come through anything. Actually, we're saying this is his ceiling. Maybe it isn't. But right now, as we stand, I think Travis has improved, but not beyond the realms of what we could foresee. I think Pears is performing as well as we thought he potentially could. And you're right. I think Eustace has played a blinder, because if Eustace had dropped him the moment Toth came through the door, then Pears, how do you bring him back in if it doesn't work? And Pears has got every reason to gripe and whinge. And actually, it probably undermines Eustace in the changing rooms, because everyone's looking at it and going, but he's not really done anything wrong this season. The way it's gone is he's got Pears on strings, because you go, keep performing like this, pal, and you're keeping the shirt. But equally, he holds the ace card that if Pears doesn't perform like that, he's got no arguments, has he? Because he goes, well, I've not dropped you, you've dropped yourself. And Toth can't argue either, because Pears is doing nothing wrong. So I think he's played it absolutely spot on. I think he's played it really, really well. And if he does drop Pears at some point, because his form drops, nobody can argue again, and he doesn't lose respect in the dressing room. I'm not yet sold on Pears, but I am on Travis. I think this Travis is someone I can see carry on. Ainsley Pears, I need a lot more time to be convinced that this is the Ainsley Pears moving forward. I need to see him drop a clanger without wanting to do. And because all keepers do it, all keepers come out and try and punch one, which he's doing now, but he's going to come out and try and punch one and miss it, and the ball will go in the net. How does Ainsley Pears react then? Because I've not seen that yet. I'm glad I've not, because it means he's not made an error. But he will do at some point, because everybody does. How does he react?
Exactly. And like you say, we're the ones that benefit. So it's great when we are proved wrong and these players come back. We had it with JRC. We're hoping to see it from John Buckley as well, where you get these players that look like they're one step probably even more than a step out the door, and that they're gone, and they come back and be solid players. Now, JRC I know that his form's been a little bit up and down, but he's now an important player for us as well. And he had a foot out the door. So, yeah, like I said, we all the fans had their opinions on Travis and Pears. And interestingly, I did a bit of a search on Travis on Instagram, on Twitter, and some of the historic tweets. And to be honest, he got pelters week in, week out about a lot of things. Pears we know about, but Travis, there was a lot of people that wanted Travis gone. And, you know, I don't think we was wrong at the time, but it's great that they've come back and they've done what they've done. I mean, moving into the mailbag now, like a lot of the questions are about Travis and Pears, and you know, how do we feel about them? And I think we've answered them. I mean, Tim DYO, he's actually mentioning Dom Hyam now because he got a lot of criticism. Yeah. So he's put Travis and Pears have been rightly praised for their great starts this season, but I think Hyam's form has been overlooked, especially after last season's criticism and the constant change in the back four. Thoughts on his performance so far. So he was someone that, you know, we started to criticise, and yeah, he's playing better now, isn't he?
Fully agree. I'm glad he's mentioned Dom Hyam because I think Travis and Pears have done it from the beginning of the season, but the last few games, Hyam's really stepped up. Since Carter's gone out of the team, actually, Hyam seems to have gone, well, this is down to me now. And in the Q&A, Eustace talked about how Hyam was captain last year and he felt it negatively affected him. Felt that it was almost, didn't use the words that it was too much for him, but he needed to just focus on his own game. I'm somebody who I've always traced it back to the moment Dom Hyam moved across to the left-hand side when Carter got in the team. It was Hyam and Wharton initially, and then Carter got in the team and Hyam moved across to the left-hand side of defence. And I pinpointed that moment in JDT's. It was almost Christmas-ish time of his first season. Hyam tailed off a bit towards the end of that season. And I personally do feel he struggles on that left-hand side. I think he's got better at it. He moved across to the right for a spell on Saturday, but he has performed really, really well the last few weeks. And his role in stepping out of defence can't be underestimated, because without him doing that and that willingness to do it, and he will give the ball away doing that because it's risky, but we're asking him to do it, he's making that stepping out of defence role with the ball that if you don't do it, that's when it becomes a Pickering to Hyam to Bath to Britain to Pickering to Hyam, and it becomes you're not progressing. Hyam is making a really brave decision to step out, and he's being told to do it, carry the ball, bring their midfield onto you, open the spaces up. But I'm impressed with his leadership at the moment. I'm impressed with his strength of character, I would say. I think he's been a real leader and really galvanising them. And I'm so pleased because I'd started, and I think we probably both said this at the beginning of the season, that Carter was playing so well that if we were going to upgrade, it would be on Hyam. And I don't feel like we need to do right now. I think we need depth in defence, but I don't think we need to replace Hyam at all.
Yeah, I think he's been great at times. I think you're right. I think there was a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I don't think he was necessarily ready for some things. I mean, I called for him to be a captain, but actually what we see from a fan's point of view doesn't necessarily, translate to real world. And I think he's someone that has a hell of a lot of championship ability. I don't necessarily think he's going to make the next step in the championship. I'm not sure if he's reached his peak with us, but I do think there's more to come from him. But yeah, he has been great. It's a position of need still, as you say. We definitely need depth. We need depth all over the pitch. But another player that's quite interesting that we've had some questions about is we've actually had a question from Ben saying there's not enough that comes from Dolan in the number 10. Whilst I appreciate the stupendous amount of yards he covers, it's no coincidence in the last two games we've looked the most dangerous going forward when he hasn't been there. Do you think that Dolan's someone that now needs to up his game to I mean, obviously there's the contract situation, but do you think he needs to up his game to get more game time with us now?
Yeah, I mean, somebody said in the comments to our last pod that we're almost accusing us of double standards, really, because they'd said that we said about Gallagher that working hard isn't enough, but yet from Dolan we were almost sticking up for him. It wasn't the fact that he was just working hard. I feel he is sacrificing himself for the team, and he's doing a tactical job that he's being asked to do. And that comes with a downside that you're not going to be in and around the box. You're not going to... And I actually thought when he came on the other day off the left, we saw Dolan actually obviously had the effort. I thought he looked better than he has recently, if I'm being honest. But again, I'll go back to the Q&A where he was really honest. Someone asked Eustace about Dolan, and he said, listen, Tyrese Dolan's played a lot of football. He's still only young. But if he wants to be the player he wants to be, he's got to add goals and assists. I couldn't put it any better myself.
Yeah, and then to talk about that Gallagher thing, it's a different role for a different player. You know, Gallagher, we was expecting, and Gay will, you know, be the comparison now for me out of any other player, where I will probably start slating Gay in a year's time. The reason why we slated Gallagher is he had a hell of a long time with us playing that position, and it didn't really look like it was ever going to click for him. It was fits and starts. It was never fully there. Whereas Gay, there's still that potential that it could happen. That could be me dreaming, but let's wait and see. But with Dolan, he has a lot of talent to play the game. We've talked about him simplifying his game. And like you said, he needs to be adding goals and assists now for him to get to the level that he should be at. So that I don't want to give up on Dolan. I do think Cantwell should play in that number 10 or on the left wing. So Cantwell's there, which kind of leaves Dolan going to the right of midfield. I think there's definitely a place for Dolan, but I think Dolan's going to be bent out of shape if he's not getting into that team, and that'll probably mean he doesn't sign his contract and he goes out and finds somewhere else. So I think the Dolan situation's really going to rear its head over the next few weeks now, because we've come to the end of the year. I think obviously in January you can start talking to foreign clubs, and he's got SPL written all over him. So we'll wait and see on that one. But yeah, Dolan I think has needed a break out the team, and I think that's what it is. But there is a question actually I've just read that I think's it's quite an interesting one. It's Chris Weir, who said, who has been the season's best player so far and who has been the most improved player from last season? So best player so far I think is quite a difficult one, because we have seen rotation in a lot of positions except for that centre mid. So I think best player so far for me is probably Travis from a consistency point of view. Maybe Travis or Tronstad. I've got to decide on them too. But most improved player from last season for me has to be Pears. What about you?
Yeah, I would debate between Travis and Tronstad, but I would give it Travis. And again, 100% most improved has to be Ainsley Pears. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think the only
Travis
one I
and
would give
Tronstad are the two best as a unit, aren't they?
Yeah, the only one I would consider being most improved, but I don't think... I think it has to be Pears, but I would just throw Callum Britton's name in the mix as well. I think Callum Britton's thriving in the role he's being given, and he looks a bloody good right back in the Championship, whereas I was not quite convinced about Britton before that. I thought, is JRC the better of the two? Whereas now, right as it sits right now, there's no contest for me. If we were picking our best 11, it wouldn't be debate.
No, I agree. And last question in the mailbag, and like I said, there's been loads of questions, and we've had some emails in as well, and we are going to do a mailbag special, so they're not forgotten about. We're going to talk about them next week. But the last one I want to just quickly ask is Adam Saw said, do we prefer the style of football we play now or when JDT was manager? I think that's a really difficult question, and I was going to leave it for next week, but I'm going to change the topic a bit for next week with the mailbag. Okay. So I'm going to say when it was going right, JDT, when it's going wrong, Eustace, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think Yeah, I think you're right. I think the highs of JDT's football were unbelievable. However, I would say the last two performances have been not a million miles away from some of those performances of JDT's. So, but yeah, if we take Eustace and JDT as a whole, I would say the highs of JDT were higher, but there's no doubt in my mind which manager I'd rather have.
Exactly. I think it's definitely a tough question to really delve down into because the season isn't over and I want a full season of Eustace before I make that decision.
Yeah.
But the reason I asked that question as well is these are the kind of questions we want for next week. So if you've got questions like this, fire them when we put the messages out there, put them in the comments, email us at theblackburnend@gmail.com. We are going to do a mailbag special next week. But yeah, stick loads of those questions in because these are the kind of questions we want to answer. But we're coming up to the hour and 25-minute mark again, Mark. We do love chatting Rovers. It was a lot easier this week to talk about Rovers. Are you looking forward to the international break?
No. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself next weekend, Mike, if I'm being honest. But I'm a little bit worried about next week's mailbag episode because quite a few times you say, "Oh, send us anything. Ask us anything about Rovers. Ask us anything about ourselves." And I've got mates who watch this, and they will take every opportunity they can to fire a question in. So, yeah, we might have to vet them first. You usually just have control of it, but I could see some being sprung on us here. So we'll be careful with that. I'm a bit nervous about that. But international break, I probably won't even. I couldn't tell you we're playing. Is it Ireland this time? I don't really care.
Mate. I use it as a break from football, to be honest. When it comes to international break, that's my break from football because you do get a bit oversaturated, don't you, sometimes? And the love kind of goes a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose it's perfect time to take Mrs. Beaty out, isn't it? And you know, just let her decide, spoil her a bit the weekend, get yourself some money in the bank for when you need to watch Stoke at home. But yeah, I think I tend to watch international games if there's a Rovers connection. So if Tika was playing for Turkey, I'd watch that. I'd probably watch Duru in America's under-20s. But yeah, I'm going to do some delving into how our Goalkeeper Rovers are getting on as well. So I'll give everyone an update on that next week as well. I'll try and speak to some fans of the clubs and sit and find out what's going on, why they're not playing, why are they playing. So I'll come back armed with a bit of information about that as well.
No, that sounds good. Well, Mark, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely, buddy. And we cannot avoid this hour and a half, can we?
No, we love it, don't we? We love these 90-minute podcasts. I hope you guys do too. And whilst all these players are jetting off to far-flung places and international duty, we'll be here once again to talk about Rovers for that mailbag special next week. So get those questions in. The more obscure, the better. And if Mark's mates are watching, get some in there. I'll make sure they get asked. But everyone, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.